Okay, well here we are finally getting this video to you late in the afternoon on Friday. This is the week 6 review, and the first thing we did in class was look at the text tool and some of the options there. Then we looked at some real basics of colorizing a picture and some ways that you can do that. And then we looked at some photo retouching techniques. So to review the text tool, we created a blank screen, and I encourage you to do that because you can see, just use a black font and so you can see what's going on with these fonts. So as you can see, I have the text tool selected. I'm clicking inside my image. It automatically creates a new layer with text, and we wrote the word hello, and we highlighted the word hello, and I think we changed the color possibly. And we used the options toolbar up here to make the font larger, and there were a couple ways that could be done. So if you double click inside a word, it highlights it. If you triple click inside of a line of text, it'll highlight the line. We learned that if you highlight the font style up here, the font face rather, you can use the right arrow to move through the different fonts on your keyboard. And additionally, we learned about the font palette. So to see the font palette, you go to Window and Character. I guess I should call it the Character panel is the correct name. If you highlight the text here, you can also do the same thing. But there's some options in here that are not in the toolbar options up top. Namely, you can create a taller font. You can create a wider spacing and actually create a wider font. You can change the distance between the characters to lots or very little. It can be, let me get this back to normal here. You can bold the text. You can italicize the text, all caps, small caps, superscript, subscript, underline, strike through. So we also had multiple lines of text. So we learned that if we highlighted those things, we could change the spacing between the lines. And that's kind of a brief overview of what we did with the fonts. So we used the character panel. Oh yeah, one more thing. When everything was selected, or even not, in the paragraph or character panel is the paragraph, and you can align things to the right or the center or left. And I am going to use these characters right now and do exactly what we did in class, which was that we also, using the text tool, we created a text box of specific proportions, and then we pasted that text in there, and then you can align it either line by line, or you can highlight all of it and align it center or left or justify in the paragraph panel, and you can set the tabs also. So that's what we had done with the text. So moving on here, we also worked on a picture of the kid. First we just made her hair a little bit more yellow, and we did that by selecting a yellow color and using a pretty large paintbrush with a pretty low hardness on it. Actually, depending on what you're doing here and how you do this, I'm not going to take a lot of time here to paint this in really well, but we had basically changed the color in her hair here in spots. Actually, what I just did was wrong because I did that right on the background, so that was a huge mistake. Sorry to waste your time there. Let me go back up here, and I'm going to paint it all again, but I'm going to paint it on a new layer. And so now I'm going to paint it even faster. And what we did here, led into something that's going to be below this, and a little bit of what we did in the retouching was that we started to look at some of the blending modes. And so the blending modes are down here in the layers panel. And we had used, I think, color dodge, and then we had reduced the opacity of it pretty significantly. But again, and I hope you have been doing this week, is looking at the different ways that the blending modes change the interaction between layers. And I'm going to put some links in another video below this one that have some information on that. So this was the kind of quick, easy way to change you know, somebody's hair a different color, or a shirt a different color, or the sky a different color, or whatever. And the nice thing is it's on a layer, so you can turn it on and off. So your assignment for this week was to colorize some portion of a image. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that layer, and we're just going to work on this picture today. Remember, we took the rope out of that picture. Maybe I'll do that super quick here. We used the patch tool to remove the rope out of this picture. That was the very first thing we did. And here you'd want to make sure you were on source and move it on off of there, and it disappears. Control D. We took the harness off the girl. You made sure that you were noticing things like the shadows back here would have to be deleted, as well as the ropes and all kinds of interesting things. The harness was very challenging, but basically we just used this tool. Now, I think on the same picture, what we also did was we used, or I introduced you anyway, to the spot healing brush, which we just clicked and dragged across that thing, and it pretty much removed it amazingly as well. And the rope down here we removed, and so that was this picture, and this was pretty easy, but it's a great way to see how things work. So on the kid here, zooming in, you know, zoom in, zoom out. Don't just stay in one place. Sorry, I moved way too closely in there. So what we did here was that we learned that, you know, number one, never work on your original. Number two, never work on the image itself, which in this case is called the background. You can either make a copy of the background, or what we did in class, and I like this, is that we created a new layer, and when we used the healing brush tool, for example, we made sure that up at the top here that align was checked, and that we were sampling all the layers, which meant we were sampling the background back here. So to use the healing brush, you need to use the keyboard, and you have to press down the Alt key to select an area that you want to use as what you're going to replace, in this case, the chocolate with. So you hold down the Alt key and you click, and basically that shows you, as you move it, it previews it, what it's going to look like. Now, this is tricky because you want to keep her line of lips here, but you want to get rid of the chocolate. When you use this tool, you want to select, using the Alt key, from areas that are close to what you're going to replace. So here, I'm going to select just from a little below this piece of chocolate. I'm going to select here, come up here and click. And this brush actually is probably a little too large for this, but I'm just going to click around out here where it's darker in this part. I've selected some of this area, and I'm going to cover that. And so the nice thing about this is you can kind of do the before and after look here. So that's the three tools we used were the spot healing brush tool, which you do not need to use the Alt key to select an area, the healing brush, which you do, and then we use the patch tool, and we aren't doing the red eye tool at this point. So anyway, those are the ways that we looked at taking some lines out of somebody's face or hair. I know that in this picture here, we definitely looked at getting some of the hair out of her face and her chapped lips, of course. But I think these are some great activities, trying like this hair right here. You know, this is great stuff, and these are the things that'll improve images. I think we lightened up this part of her face, if I remember correctly, using a paintbrush, and we did that with a duplicate layer, or excuse me, just a large healing brush, I think. Anyway, those are the things we did in class. I'm sorry this one was late. Remember, this is a lot of patience and a lot of time. So I hope you have a great week, and I will see you on Wednesday.